Hey folks, welcome to another Escape from Tarkov video. This is going to be an update to an older video from a couple of wipes ago about how to upgrade the weapons before you have the flea market and with level 1 traders. I'll go over attachments, the starter weapons you get is either USEC or bear, as well as a few other weapons that you can buy and upgrade, including the one that I'm going to use for most of my low level play until I get traders leveled up a little bit or get the flea market unlocked. So the first thing we'll go over is attachments. I'm just going to go over them briefly, show you what they are, where you can find them, so you know what's available to you and you're not missing out on anything. Now, first up is sights, because for me, that's one of the more important attachments, especially with some of the iron sights in the game. They can be pretty difficult to use, and optics just give you a much clearer picture and better chance at engaging your target. So first up is going to be the Cobra sight, the EKP8, probably one of the most common ones I'll use for a while. It also has this little fancy sight shade you can put on there that gives you plus 3 ergo. So you slap it right on just like that and it goes. That is available at proper level 1. You'll see it right here. So there's the sight for 10,000 rubles, a little more, and then another 100 rubles for the sight shade. Now another one, the MRS, which requires a rail on top to go to. And when I say a rail on top, a Picatinny rail, or like you have with that dust cover, or on top of the M4, if you pull off this the charging handle, you have one there, or on top of the MDR, stuff like that. You can just put this MRS right on top of there. It itself is available at skier loyalty level 1. Now, some of you eagle-eyed people might notice that this PLAD is here. That is not unlocked until you get golden swag done. It's unlocked at level 1, but you have to have golden swag done to do it, so it won't be available to you right away. But the MRS is. Now after that, we have the fast fire and the H2, which are both available on Peacekeeper. You got to spend dollars to get them, but they're right there. Other optics. Now the caveat with these two sights from Peacekeeper is you need these little mounts underneath to be able to mount them to anything. They won't go right on. So fast fire goes on that, and the H2 can go on that, and several others. But then you can put them on various mounts. After that, we have the PSO scope. This is available at proper as well. It's the first optic you're really going to be able to get. I use it quite a bit, especially if I can get my hands on some AKs that have the dovetail mounts, because it gives you range and you can actually reach out and engage people at a distance, which a lot of people are unable to do at low levels, especially early wipe. Now, these are the useful sights, as I would say. Now, over here on the right are two sights that are, I don't want to say bad, but they're not as useful, or I don't like them. The first one's going to be the night scope. It's not necessarily bad, but it's got a small field of view and a very specific use. When you're ADS, you have night vision. It's available at proper level 1. You can put it on your AKs. If you're running night raids, it'll help you engage targets, but you're not going to be able to use it to like see in the dark and find stuff. After that is the Obzor, also available at proper. I clicked on the wrong link there, sorry. Available at proper level 1, but the sight picture on it is awful. It blocks up a lot of your screen. It's hard to see. It's right on par with iron sights in my opinion as far as how useful it is. If you like it, great, it's there, but there are just other options available. Now with this are two parts that you need to be able to mount optics. The Bastion dust cover is available on Skier, and the MFI HK is available on Peacekeeper. Now, these will sell out early wipe really quickly, but I'll show you where they're at. The Bastion's here. This goes on AKs and the AK platforms, and then the MFI HK is for your MP5. So it'll allow you to put a red dot so you don't have to use the iron sights on it. After that, we have our lights, our flashlights, which are really important at low levels because nighttime is a so much safer place to run. But you need to be able to see and loot, and flashlights help you see in the dark, obviously. There's a couple options here. You've got the XC1, just a little flashlight, the GTL21, which is a flashlight and a laser, and then just a flashlight, but it requires this ring mount to be able to attach to anything. After that, we have our handguards. Now you have your AK100 handguard. This is available on proper. If you go here, you'll see proper level 1. You got to be careful when you're buying it because there's two of them right there that kind of look like one another. You've got the AK-74 polymer, which doesn't have any rails on it anywhere, versus the AK-100, which has a bottom rail and a side rail, so you can put a light and a flashlight. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But it's available on level 1 proper, and it goes on several of the guns, especially if you're a bear, to allow you to put attachments on. After that, we have our two M4 platform, the RIS-2 and the KC, which we'll get in more detail, but this is going to allow you to put foregrips and flashlights on an M4 platform. After that, we've got our foregrips, which you have two technically available, and one that's a foregrip slash handguard combination. It's not great. Some people like using it. This is available on Skier level 1. You can put it on your AK platforms if you want, a little bit cheaper. but not all that much special, but it is there. The RK6 is also available on Skier. And then the KAC VFG is a Peacekeeper item. So again, spending dollars to get it, but it's there. Primary difference between these two, the RK6 gives you 1% recoil and 5 ergo, whereas the KAC gives you 7 ergo. So if you're in that, at that point of the game, if you're worried about those things, I think you're kind of worried about the wrong stuff, but one's kind of an ergo grip, the other one gives you a little bit of recoil. Now these two parts, they're not really categorized, but they're important to bring up. The MK12 is a gas tube replacement for the M4. I'll get more into specifics why that's important. It is available on mechanic, loyal level 1, right there, you'll see it. And then the last one is the RP1 charging handle for AKs. It just gives you 1 ergo, slaps on the side. That is available on Skier level 1, right? I can't see it. There it is right there. Right here. That's where you can get it. Now, all these parts over here, these are Jaeger parts. And I want to bring them up because they're available on Jaeger level 1, but you have to unlock Jaeger. And that is super important. I do a guide on how to do that your very first raid. You can unlock Jaeger in your very first raid. You go to woods, you can get it done. There's a little trick to it. Another video, go watch that. But it's super important because of all the attachments and things you can get on Jaeger. And as you can see, you got options for a lot of sights. It's the first suppressor you can buy, which are so important, as well as a dovetail mount that allows you to do different stuff with mounting sights and lights and things like that. And then kind of new to last wipe that they added is this little target ring. This is an optic that you can clip right onto NP 153s and 155s that give you an optic on a shotgun. But that's it for the parts. Let's talk about the different starter guns. So as a USEC, you get an M9, you get an M4, and then you get an MP5. These are the 3 primary guns you get as starter guns as a USEC. And then as a bear, you get the MP443 Grotch, the AK-74N, and your PP-19s, which is a submachine gun. So you can see they're kind of the comparable guns for Russia versus NATO, Western versus Russia, however you want to look at it. Now with the M9A3 pistol, there's not a lot right out the gate you can do. You can basically put a light on it, and there's a couple options, but I do this a lot, especially if I'm struggling or I hit a death streak. I'll grab a pistol, throw a flashlight on it, and go do a couple of raids, kill some scavs, try to get some gear, get back in the game. Now, the challenge is with the Grotch, you can't do that. You can't put a light on the Grotch. And the only way to do that, the part is on loyalty level 2 Skier. It's this little this B8 thing here, and I'll buy it just to show you guys. Sometimes they'll be on the pistols already, especially get them off scavs. Once you put that on there, you can put a light. I'm hoping this is an oversight. Maybe BSG will change it, so keep an eye on it. If not, that will not be available to you, which kind of sucks as a bear. You don't have a pistol, though you can buy the M9s off of Peacekeeper. Now for the M4, the modifying it is pretty straightforward with what you can do. The first thing I always do is I pull off the charging handle and I pull off the front sight post. And now you can't use it, right? Because you don't have a gas tube. That's where the MK12 comes in. Take that MK12, put it on there, and then you can put any host of sights from we'll just put an MRS on there for now, and you're good to go. But if you want to put a flashlight and a grip on, you're going to need to buy one of these handguards. Now, the KAC will go on with the front sight post, but the front sight post gets away in your optics. That's why I take it off. We'll take off this handguard, and we'll put on the RIS-2, which requires that MK12 gas tube. You have to have that because it won't go on with the front sight post. But now we can put on an RK6, we can put on a flashlight, and we kind of have a sort of geared M4 that gives you a little bit more versatility in raid right out the gate. Now the MP5 is straightforward. It's really simple. There is not much you can do with it. We're going to come up here. We're going to grab our little HK thing. Like I said, you can buy that off Peacekeeper, drop it right on there, and you can see now you have a rail that will allow you to put optics on here. But be cautioned. The front sight post can get in the way of a lot of these optics, and so you kind of want to work around what you have. If you can get a little riser, which there is one to get this up higher, I recommend doing that. Let me kind of clean things up here a little bit, and we'll go over to the bear guns. Now, we talked about the MP443. Nothing you can do with it other than if you get one of these B8 mounts in raid or BSG moves it or whatever. The AK-74N has several options. So it has dovetail mounts on the side here. You see these kind of rails or whatever. That's how you can see that if just by a visual, if you can put a dovetail attachment on there. So you can come in, you can put your Cobra sight on there, or even, let me pull this off, the PSO. And this is how I run these quite a bit when I find them in raid, because now you have a optic that allows you to shoot at a greater distance. But you do have one more option with optics on this. And let me take this off because I have to. And you take the dust cover off. And I'm going to show you the bad way to do it here real quick, just because the Bastion will not go on there. If you see it, it's telling you the 6P20 SB2 can't go on at the same time. What the hell is that? Well, it's the sight. The Bastion takes up the place of the rear sight post, so you've got, or the rear sight attachment. So in order to put the Bastion on, you have to take that off. So put that on there, and now you can go the rail side of putting optics on the AK if you would like. Now, kind of putting the AK back to where it was, the other thing you can do, we will do with the handguard real quick. Here is our AK-100 we talked about with the grips on it, or the rails. We put that on the front. Doesn't look visually all that much difference, but now we can put a foregrip and a flashlight of various kinds on there. And then mix that with your PK06, which, or not PK06, your Cobra sight, and now you have a pretty decent AK to go into raid with. Now, a lot of these parts kind of go with the PP19 too if you want. It's the same kind of handguard, and I'm just going to pull the one off the AK and put it right on there. So we'll take the handguard off, and same deal. Now you have the PP19 with a foregrip and a flashlight, and then we'll put the Cobra on as well for that, and now you have an SMG with a sight and a grip and a light, which is something you can't do on the MP5. Now there is a dust cover for the PP19 replacement, kind of like you have the Bastion for the AK, but it's not available to level 2 proper. You might find it in raid. I wouldn't worry about it. You wouldn't really want to be putting those kind of sights on this thing anyways, or as ineffective as 9mm apparently is right now. Now, after those, we have these two guns. These are kind of special cases I'll bring up just really quickly. These are if you have EOD, you will have an MDR as a USEC or an RPK as a bear. And just the nuances of it, again, you can kind of take a rail sight that'll go on top. I'll do that right here. It'll sit right on top, pretty simple, straightforward. But in order to put foregrips and flashlights on this, you need these M-LOK rails, which are not purchasable. The 4.1 goes on the bottom for foregrips, and the 2.5 is on the side for flashlights. The only way you can get them at low level is with mechanic through a barter. So keep this in mind. If you want to go this route, you need to get a USB-A and a tape measure, and then you can do these barters and put those rails, not just on this, but any kind of M-LOK, Magpul fashion type of weapon. That's it for the MDR. The RPK, nothing fancy. It's another AK. It has a couple other parts, but it already comes with rails for lights and grips. The only thing I want to mention is you can have some issues with compatibility if you get optics. So this scope here will not go on. You see that? It's simply because of this rear sight aperture thingy that's on there. If you take that off, then boom, you'll be able to put a sight on and it'll work. That's the only thing I really wanted to bring up about that. Now, moving on down, these are the guns that you can buy that I use as well. The SKS is probably one of the most fantastic budget weapons you can use as a low level because it's cheap. You're going to get it back in insurance. And the ammo is one of the more powerful ammos you can actually use. Now, the handy thing is you can get this SKS 20-round mag, which actually allows you to swap mags. So the 10 rounders, you've got a top load. You can't put these in your inventory and swap them. It's not how it works. But the 20 rounders will. If you put the 20 rounder on, it goes right there. You can carry a second 20 rounder and reload and you're good. Those 20 rounders are available on Peacekeeper for dollars. So you got to make sure you have dollars to do that. But they are there. Here it is right there. Now, this last gun is the gun that I use probably the most early wipe because it shoots 7.62x39, which is a good ammo. I can have 30 round changeable mags, all sorts of attachments, and you can even eventually upgrade it to an AKM in your hideout through a craft. So let's go through the build really quick. The Vepr 136 is available at Skier, level 1, right there, just like I said, 32,000. You buy that. First thing you do is pull off the handguard, which we do that. Pull off the dust cover, pull off the sight, and then if you want to get crazy, I'm going to do it here to show you. You can pull off the pistol grip because you can get one more ergo out of it if you want, and we'll do that here. And then you start putting it back together. You take the Bastion, put it on, the AK-100 grip just like we said, RK6, the light, the pistol grip that we have right there. It gives us one more ergo. As you can see, this one is +7 versus +6 on the other one. You don't care about that, that's fine, don't worry about it. And then the RP1, and that gives us one more ergo. Now, the reason you have to use the Bastion is the VPO does not have dovetail mounts on the side of it, so you do need to use a sight. I'm just going to put an MRS on here. You use the one that you like the most. Now, quick little point I want to show. So if a gun's over here on your sling, right, it acts like it's in raid. You can actually change parts. If you, let's say you find a AKM or AK-74 style stock, you can put that on in raid. And so you're running around like this. Let's say you find this UAS AK. You can take off your stock and put this on and instantly in raid upgrade your rifle and get out with that part. Throw this one on the ground, whatever, and you're good to go. On top of that, you will find suppressors. The DTK 4M is the one I'm going to bring up, but there's a couple. but they will not mount directly to the VPO 136. Just to how its threading works. So you take this VPO 136, what do you call this thing, muzzle brake compensator off of there. Try to put the suppressor on, it won't go. It needs this TTAK, Takeda Tula muzzle adapter that goes on, and then the suppressor will go on if I have enough space. Sorry about that. That TTK thing is available at Skier, so you can do that. So if you're having trouble with suppressors, always check and make sure that you don't need this with AK platforms, because it does affect several different weapons. But that's pretty much it. I hope this video was helpful for you. I hope you get a lot out of it. I wish you the best of luck in your raids, and we'll see you in Tarkov.